The Bell Beyond Fear, a Buddhist tale on facing illusions. In a quiet valley cradled by ancient mountains and whispering forests, there lay a peaceful village named Elmsworth. The villagers lived simple lives, rising with the sun and sleeping under skies embroidered with stars. At the heart of this village stood an old temple, weathered by time but filled with grace. Its wooden beams creaked like whispers of monks from centuries past, and its golden bell, suspended at the entrance, was a symbol of harmony and devotion. Every morning and evening, the bell rang with solemn beauty. It was not merely a call to prayer. It was a rhythm that reminded the people of impermanence, of the fleeting nature of life, and the presence of the sacred in the ordinary. That bell was, to many, the sound of their own hearts returning to silence. But one night, silence was broken. A shadow crept into the temple. A thief, driven by greed and desperation, stole the sacred bell and fled into the thick forest. As he ran, the bell clanged loudly, echoing like a cry in the wilderness. The deeper he went, the more the sound awakened the forest. A tiger, stirred by curiosity or hunger, followed the ringing. The thief, breathless and trembling, paused under an old fig tree. But before he could rest, the tiger lunged and silenced him forever. The bell tumbled from his hands and landed softly on the earth, where the night embraced it. At dawn, a family of monkeys discovered the fallen bell. Entranced by its chime, they began to play with it, ringing it joyfully under the canopy of trees. Night after night, their music echoed across the forest, mysterious and haunting. But to the villagers of Elmsworth, it was not music. It was a ghost's lament. The first time the sound reached the village, people stood still. It was not the bell's usual tone. It carried something unfamiliar, eerie, as if echoing from a realm unseen. The elders exchanged uneasy glances. Children clung to their mothers. And when it continued, night after night, fear began to settle like fog upon the village. "Who rings the sacred bell in the forest?" they asked. Whispers became stories. Stories became rumors. And rumors, as they often do, grew claws and wings. Some said it was the spirit of an angry monk. Others believed the forest had become cursed. The temple's priest, afraid to face the unknown, only murmured vague prayers and avoided questions. In a meeting held under the banyan tree, the village decided to send a brave young man, Ethan, into the forest. Ethan was strong, bold, and proud of his courage. With a torch in hand, he ventured into the forest as the sun dipped below the hills. The moon was high when he stumbled upon a skeleton half buried in leaves. Its bony fingers stretched toward a rusted bell. Fear clutched his chest. His mind, fed by the tales he had heard, screamed, "Ghost!" He turned and ran, the shadows chasing his breath, until he burst back into the village and proclaimed, "There's a spirit in the forest, a ghost who rings the bell and kills intruders." Panic exploded like wildfire. The villagers, already weakened by uncertainty, now gave in completely. Some packed their belongings, abandoning homes of generations. Others locked themselves indoors, whispering prayers to invisible protectors. The once peaceful village became a place ruled by dread. When news reached the king of the region, he was troubled. The land under his care was unraveling, so he made an announcement. "Whosoever drives the ghost away shall be rewarded generously." Among the villagers was an old woman named Agnes. She lived alone at the edge of the village, in a hut surrounded by herbs and silence. Her back was curved by time, but her eyes still carried the clarity of one who had known both joy and sorrow. She had heard the bell at night, and though it startled her at first, she did not leap to fear. Agnes had lived long enough to know that fear often wears a mask, that beneath the face of a ghost might lie a simple truth. So when she heard the king's proclamation, something stirred in her. Not greed, not pride, but a quiet resolve. "I will go," she whispered to herself, "but not to fight a ghost. I will go to see what is true." That evening, she prepared quietly. Not weapons, but peanuts, ripe bananas, and some dried fruits. With a small cloth bundle in hand, she walked slowly into the forest, guided by moonlight and a mind free from panic. She reached the area near the old fig tree and hid behind a thick trunk. Hours passed. The night was cool and alive with crickets and rustling leaves. Then, she saw them. A troop of monkeys, giggling and chattering, surrounded the bell. One of them rang it with great delight, as if announcing a play. There was no ghost, no curse, just innocent beings, living their lives. Agnes smiled softly. Her heart did not jump with triumph, but with understanding. How easily fear had blinded the truth. How quickly humans build phantoms out of shadows. The next morning, she went to the king. "Your Majesty," she said with bowed head, "I can remove the ghost, but I need offerings. Peanuts, fruit, and a little time." The king, puzzled but hopeful, agreed. With the offerings prepared, Agnes returned to the forest and laid the food gently beneath the tree. Then she waited. The monkeys, thrilled by the feast, descended gleefully, abandoning the bell for the treats. While they nibbled, Agnes quietly picked up the bell and walked back through the trees, her feet light as breath. She handed the bell to the king. "The ghost," she said, "has gone." The king was astonished. When he saw it was the very bell once stolen from the temple, he bowed his head in gratitude. He rewarded Agnes generously, but more importantly, he summoned the villagers and declared, "There was no ghost, only fear fed by ignorance." The villagers, now unburdened, returned to their homes. The temple bell rang once more, not with mystery, but with the wisdom of a lesson hard-earned. And Agnes? She returned to her hut, where silence once again became her companion. She never claimed to be brave. She simply dared to look beyond the illusion. There are stories that entertain, and there are stories that awaken. This tale reminds us that what we fear is often not real. We run from phantoms created by our minds, forgetting that clarity lies in stillness. Fear thrives in unexamined stories. But courage is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is the quiet decision to look again, to see clearly rather than believe blindly. A peaceful life is not one without challenges. It is a life where truth is valued above assumption, where we pause before reacting, and where wisdom leads the way through even the darkest forest.